All right, guys, welcome in. It's Thursday. It's time for Total Bases. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Bryan, Leonard, Tokyo, Brandon. Guys, I looked through the schedule this morning. I'm fairly certain that this is the last Thursday with very minimal games. I think we're smooth sailing basically. The rest of the way, I don't think there's a day that there's less than 6 or 7 games. So this will be the last sort of show where there's a very watered down slate. Not sure why they did it. Maybe trying to build in mutual off days in case there's rainouts, so on and so forth. But Major League Baseball has done it again Thursday, August 7th, and there's 4 games. So the good news is, not worried about the chat and requesting games today. We're just going to go right in order. We're going to do all 4. However, if you do have a question, especially if it's a betting specific theory betting process question, today is a great day to get that out and get that answered. And someone's already DM'd me one, so we'll get through the 4 games, and then we'll also answer any questions that you have just in general about betting Major League Baseball, because I really truly believe we're 3 of the best to do it, and you got us for an hour. So let's get started. Right down the board, we have what was very entertaining game yesterday, Bryan, Leonard, and not in the way I thought it would be. The Oakland A's and the Washington Nationals were dueling it out. Jeffrey Springs had a no-hitter going I think he actually had a perfect game going for a period of time. And then Cade Cavalli looked great. That was a guy that's battled injury for, pretty much since he was a first-round pick back in 2020. Nats finally snapped their losing streak. And now they come back and do it all again at, I think, noon Eastern today. So A's Nationals, do you think the Nats can build on that momentum here?
I was very happy to see Cade Cavalli back in the majors. This is a guy, reminds me a lot of the Steven Strasburg and some others that have just been so good, and then they continue to get hurt. He pitched pretty well yesterday. He's a guy that should be a mainstay in their rotation for the next 5-6 years at least, until his contract runs out, until he gets good and they have to trade him like all the other lower market teams. But I was very happy to see that. Today we've got Lopez going on the road. Both lefties, by the way. Lopez against Parker. Lopez is about a 130, 132 favorite, total of 9. It's not often you find the Athletics as a road favorite, but there is a pretty good differential here in starting pitching. Lopez is got a lot of red on his StatCast page. He comes in with a 3.99 ERA, 3.72 expected, 1.34 whip, a little high in that regard. He is a fly ball pitcher, though. He's only in the 2nd percentile in ground ball rate. Fastball velocity only in the 8th percentile. So he's a lefty that's not going to beat you with his four-seamer, although that's what he really throws most of the time, 39%. He throws 5 pitches, but really only 4 he uses, double digits. But some of his other things looked really sharp on his page. Extension, 94th percentile. Hard hit rate, 91st. Average exit velocity, 89th. So he's a guy that we like, but he started off terrific, and then he struggled, and I think now we know what we've got out of him, and it's still better than what Mitchell Parker does, and that's a shame because he looked decent last year. I mean, last year he came in 4.29 ERA, 1.30 whip. It was his rookie season. Not bad. He went 7-10 for Washington, a losing baseball team. But this year, 5.35 ERA, 5.56 expected, 1.47 whip. Hard hit rate, 1st percentile. Strikeout rate, 4th percentile. Average exit velocity, 1st. He's just been getting hit hard. His extension is really good. He's 6'4", 85th percentile. His chase rate's pretty good at 71%. But other than that, he has really struggled. And especially if you take a look at some of his last few starts, his last time out against the Brewers, he just got bombed. 8 earned runs in 4 innings. He was pretty decent when he played the Twins and the Padres before that, but he got bombed by the Milwaukee Brewers the time before that again. 7 earned runs at 4 2/3 innings. And then the Red Sox hit him pretty well. So he's hasn't given up less than 2 earned runs since you go all the way back to when he played the Colorado Rockies at home back on June 18th. So we know we're going to get a good amount of runs out of this Athletics team. The total on this game is 9. Their team total has to be in the 5 range, I would think, at this point. They're going to get that 5. They're going to get 5 or 6 in this game. And I'm not so sure Washington has that ability to get that many against the Athletics. I'd like the Athletics pitching staff a little bit better. Washington's bullpen is horrendous. So they've got a pitcher who's pitching terribly, and they got a bullpen that is terrible, and they shut him down yesterday. It's usually these early games, you tend to lean towards the under a little bit because teams aren't used to playing at this time. This is an Athletics team that's going to be playing at 9:00 Pacific here in Las Vegas, California, whatever. So that might be something to look at, but I don't want any part of Washington here. I'll probably set this one out.
So I'm gonna right off the top of the right out of the gate. I'm gonna do my parlay leg right here. It's gonna be the Oakland A's. Well, whatever A's team total over 4.5. It's 4.5 right now at -113. So here's why. When I compare two teams together, I like them to be 10 or more points apart for me to take a side. And the A's actually are about 14 points better than Washington here with all the factors in. As a matter of fact, the A's, my numbers really like Lopez, but I don't, which is why I'm not going to take them on the side here, although my numbers tell me to. The A's rank number 3 in hitting in current form right now, and Washington ranks 19. Both bullpens pretty trashy at the moment, but Washington's is horrible. They rank second to last in all of MLB in current form. And Mitchell Parker, I have him 26 on a curve of 30. So when you have a starting pitcher that ranks that low, a bullpen that's in this terrible current form against the MLB lineup that ranks, according to my numbers, number 3 in Major League Baseball right now, that's an over for their team total. The reason I don't want to play them on the side is because I think Lopez has a walk problem. According to this, he's walking about 46% of the guys he's striking out, which is too high for me. I like it to be between 30 and 40%. Mitchell Parker's at 55% for that number, so he's bad too. But I don't think the A's will have any trouble putting guys on base and knocking them in. We've talked about this team in shows before. A lot of young guys who can really smack it good. So I think they will today. I think 4.5 is an okay. It's high, but I think they'll get there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think they get there. Probably, it's more likely they get there, in my opinion, toward the end of the game, because you go back and you just. I'm going to work backward here. Both of these bullpens are horrific. Like these are right now, and you also have to take out, like, you look at the A's bullpen, and you have to take Mason Miller out of there, and like some of the guys that have really helped those bullpen numbers are now gone. So I would not argue with you if you said these are the 2 worst bullpens in Major League Baseball right now. I think that's a fair assessment based on who's actually down there. Not only do the numbers suggest that that's the case, but who's actually down there throwing the ball in today's game. I think you can make a pretty that's a pretty reasonable thing to say. So no matter who you decide to take here, and that's why TB, I feel like you're probably on to something with going for your team total. No matter who you have to take here, you are going to have to survive probably, at a minimum of 3 innings of a very poor bullpen where things could completely go off the rails. Now, the A's sort of popped up on, it's a short board, and obviously my list is short. The A's look like a really good option today. When I look at, Mitchell Parker's not a guy I want to back at all. The only problem I have is the A's tend to profile a little bit better against right-handed pitching. So, that they have some guys that don't have as high of an OPS against lefties. It's a lineup that I think is optimal against right-handed pitching. doesn't mean they can't hit a guy like Mitchell Parker. And you could say the same thing really about the Nationals. Something I talked about yesterday. The Nationals are much better against right-handed pitching. There was a point in time when the Nationals were really playing good, May into early June, where their lineup was 9 left-handed batters. And then they basically would, when they did face a lefty, a couple of those guys are switch hitters. They maybe would play Dylan Cruz. Well, Dylan Cruz is down at Rochester right now. So he's not even on the team at this point. So you want to talk about like a team like there, and look at what happened yesterday. You had Jeffrey Springs taking a no-hitter, perfect game, no-hitter into like the 5th or 6th inning. So this is not a Nats lineup that profiles to do well against left-handed pitching, and they didn't last night. They just happened to win a low-scoring game. But how many times are you going to be able to say that? How many times are you going to be able to say, oh, the Nats grinded out a 2-1 win? It's not going to happen very often. I look at Lopez's StatCast page, which Bryan brought up. There's a lot to like there. He's a guy that I think, and we don't really know his ceiling yet because he doesn't have a huge sample size at the big league level, but he's done it at AAA. And, for the most part, he's been very good. I think he's gotten bombed once or twice, but other than that, he's been very solid in Major League Baseball so far this year. So the A's is the only way I could play it. And TB, I think you're off to a good start with the parlay. I think the A's are going to do enough to win this game and score those runs. Bryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I really thought this was going to be a 5, and at 4.5, and you're getting them basically minus 119 or so. That's not a bad bet at all. I do want to point out, and I'm a big proponent of the Fangraphs page, the roster resource. Mr. Martinez does a terrific job on here, and TB's nice enough to produce his numbers every day on the website, and you can download those. But if you take a look at there's 30 teams in Major League Baseball. So when you're looking at the top 100, each team, if they were equal, they would have about 3 guys in the top 100. If you take a look at the bullpen, the last 14 days, the best pitcher out of the bullpen for the Nationals has been P.J. Poland, who they just pulled up from AAA. He's only thrown 13 pitches on Tuesday, and he's 91. Everybody else is in the 160 and higher range, and that includes their new closer. I guess he's your closer, Jose Ferrer. But this team's bullpen is really bad. And if you take a look at, they break down the hitting as well. And in the last 7 days, their best hitter is Drew Millis, the catcher, and he's ranked 112. They've got a lot of guys that are really not hitting well right now. James Wood, 327. Josh Bell, 341. Nathaniel Lowe, 323. So you've got a team in Washington that is not hitting right now, and their bullpen is really bad. The A's may be worth that favorite situation here, but I think the right way to play this is just what TB talked about, and that would be the team total over.
Station Play says Total Base is my number 1 morning show. We very much appreciate that. We're here Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. every day of the baseball season. So if you can spare 30 seconds, head down below or head over to YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube replay. Maybe drop a comment. It really does help our show. Since we've got time and there's only 4 games, I'm going to hit some questions like this. So I think this is a good segue from what we were talking about, and we'll make it a little bit more general. So Evie Evans says, what's the best approach to handicapping relief pitching? Bryan, you kind of started to talk about it in the context of the Nationals A's game, but can you just expand that to like your general approach to handicapping bullpens?
Bullpens all depends. If you ask me, they all depend on the usage patterns. If you've got a team that's got their starting rotation and they're all going 5 or 6 innings, your bullpen should be in pretty good shape. If you handicap that's the one thing from year to year. You can handicap what you're going to do from a hitting standpoint and get a pretty good idea. From a starter standpoint, depending on injuries, you've got a pretty good idea. In the bullpens, 1 year, and TB could back me up on this, 1 year a team will be great. But look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers in the offseason, we thought the Dodgers bullpen was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And because of the starting pitching injuries on that team, they have had to pitch a lot more, and they're not really able to be healthy. and so they're not going to be as good. So from a bullpen standpoint, you got to realize these players are all, for the most part, they're all pretty in the same range, but it all depends on how often they're being used. And right now, Washington's starting pitch has been so bad all year, the bullpen just is being used up. So you continue to bring guys up and down from the minors, and they just, like I just said, they just brought 2 guys up this week from the minors. So it's hard to take a look at. It's if the starters are doing well, your bullpen should be doing well. Now, if they're not, then you know you got a really bad bullpen.
Yeah, the way I approach it is, so bullpen is basically a team of guys, and what you have to do is, current form's pretty important. Like Bryan mentioned, a winning team is not automatically, but generally they're going to have better bullpen numbers. We've talked about this on previous shows. If you're winning a lot of games, it means you're going to leverage your best guys. We've talked about this many times. The Rockies have had, before the trade deadline, had some serious talent in their bullpen, but they never used them because they were always getting beat 20-10 and just throwing out, Raggedy Ann and Andy out there to get smacked around the rest of the game. So that's one thing. Another factor is who in the bullpen has been leveraged a lot. You do have to keep track of whether the closer has been, called on 2 days in a row. He's not going to pitch on that day. So you got to take a look at who else is available. And if they suck, they suck. And you can bet against them in that situation. I like to look at, for bullpens, I really like to look at WHIP because it tells you how many guys they're putting on base. And you have to look at it as a collection, though. So grading starters, predicting how starters are going to play and predicting how bullpens are going to play, totally different games. Starters are much easier to predict than bullpens are because bullpens have so many factors and you have to cap them as a group.
So what I've noticed probably in the last maybe 5 years is that, I feel like the bullpen usage is oftentimes baked into the number a little bit. And when I say that, it's like, okay, if you go back a decade, I feel like it was good enough to just track bullpen usage because I don't know that the books were paying attention to it as much. And I feel like you could find some real value just straight up being like, this guy pitched 2 of the last 3 days. This guy pitched 3 of the last 4. Now, if you go over to MLB.com, in 2 seconds, you can look at it on a chart. So to think that the books are not very, very conscious of who's pitched and what teams have watered down bullpens, I think you'd be a little naive to think that they're not very conscious of that. It takes 2 seconds to pull up that chart. So if you can pull it up in 2 seconds, so can any sportsbook operator making the lines for these games. So what I've personally started to do is, and this, I didn't really think of this until I started really getting into handicapping AAA baseball and figuring out where the edges were there. And it's like in AAA, it's all about spreading out innings. And if a guy pitched today, he's not going to pitch tomorrow and stuff like that. So when I'm handicapping AAA, I really look and say, okay, who do I think this manager is going to use today? And do I like that? And so I started to do that for Major League Baseball. So if you're just asking the way I personally handicap bullpens, yes, I've got the WHIP there. Yes, I have all the numbers that are relevant you need to look at. But you also have to understand that the books look at those numbers. So to find an edge, what I'll tend to do is say, okay, so this is the starting pitcher. So I'm going to estimate 3 to 4 innings of bullpen usage. If I'm AJ Hinch or if I'm, whatever head coach is coaching the game, who am I going to use here in the 6th? Who does it make sense to use in the 6th? Who does it make sense to use in the 7th? If they're not going to have Devin Williams available, it's a bad example. We don't want to lie him out there anyway. Who is it going to be instead? And then I can start to get an idea. I'll give you a perfect example. The game I talked about yesterday with the Twins, I straight up told you with my handicap, okay, Pearson Ole is probably going to pitch 3 to 4 innings. They just signed Thomas Hatch. He's probably going to get out there. Is that a guy that I can live with being out there for 3 to 4 innings. Well, he's thrown the ball okay at Omaha. They probably haven't seen him. He's probably fresh. So yeah, I can live with that. And then I kind of make a note. Okay, now I'm at the 7th inning. What happens in the 7th here? Who's getting the leverage spot? And if I can sort of map it out and check all those boxes, then I'm like okay with it. If I get to the 8th inning and I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna have this guy in a leverage spot, and he's typically a 7th inning guy, or he hasn't shown the ability to throw pitches in like a high leverage situation, then I probably got to pump the brakes a little bit. So that's, to me, that's how I'm personally handicapping bullpens. And I just go through the bullpen, and I've got little pluses and minuses by someone that I think is better than where the market thinks they are, or worse. And if I get a bunch of pluses on a given day, I'm more likely to bet that team. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I just want to touch on 2 things. First of all, if a team's on a losing streak, as TB mentioned, you're not going to use your better relievers, but they don't want them to go to waste. So a lot of times there will be games, the team will be losing, but you will get their best relievers because they haven't pitched in a while. Now, that's a good thing. But if you're a closer, and we've seen these over the years, and you bring a closer in a non-safe situation, they just don't have the same mental ability to get pumped up in a situation like that. And also, as a secondary thing, if you do have problems handicapping the bullpens, hey, they got first 5 innings. Dave Koken made a living off the first 5 innings the last few years of his life, and he got tired of being beaten late in the game by bad bullpens, and so he played the first 5 innings. That's a different way to get around it.
One other thing to mention is these guys are such creatures of habit. I've been around them when I was a scout, and if you've ever seen the movie Major League, you know, that one guy had the doll, he was like a voodoo guy in his life. Some guys are actually like that. They have like all these like good luck charms and stuff. Yeah. Especially pitchers more than hitters. And if you knock them off their schedule just a little bit, they just go crazy. And closers are no exception. Closers might be the worst. If you put a closer in the 8th inning, he just freaks out, you know? So yeah, these guys are they're humans and they're creatures of habit.
I'll add one thing. So in typical Dave Koken fashion, though, he was ahead of the curve on that. So like he was ahead of doing that, because I remember when he sort of made that point, and this was years ago. This was like years ago when he kind of like saw, okay, starters, like teams just aren't having starters go as deep into games. I don't want 4 innings of any major league bullpen, but you can't really do that now because the books have gotten so insanely good at pricing first 5. It is so hard to find actual like first 5 value on a day-to-day basis that it's still a good thought process. But when I look at the first 5 numbers, very rarely do I see like a ton of line value. I feel like the books really, and it makes sense because they're able to, you're giving them a smaller window. Like they're going to be able to more accurately price stuff, and they're going to be able to move off of anything. If they make a mistake on a first 5, it's quickly exposed and it's moved to the right number. So I find it very challenging to find line value on the first 5. Not to say that it's not a good way to look at it, but I think the books have caught up to guys like Koken and, you know, who were doing that in 2017, 2018, before that was the thought process of virtually everyone handicapping baseball. But it's a really interesting conversation. Evie Evans, thank you for that question. That was that was a great question. Really good conversation. I do really truly believe that the nuance of like handicapping a bullpen is the difference between you being profitable and not betting the sport. So it's a great question. All right, let's get back to games. We still have 3 of them. And DK, I don't know if you showed up a couple minutes late. He said athletics runs. So Tokyo Brandon's parlay leg is A's team total over 4.5. And I think we all sort of agree that there could be some runs at points in that game. But if you did show up late, as always, head on over to the Wager Talk YouTube channel and just check out the replay, which is up live. And if this show is live and on demand every single day. All right, time to head out west. I said that I thought there would be a good spot to jump in with the White Sox in this series at some point. I have not done it yet because I haven't found the good spot to do it yet. And Bryan Leonard, I don't know if that spot is today either. The Mariners have dominated this series. I know the White Sox kind of made a little run last night. It was an 8-6 final. Do the Mariners complete the sweep today? And do they do it in convincing fashion is the question.
Got Smith going for the White Sox, Gilbert for Seattle. Gilbert's about a 180 favorite or so right now. 7.5 to the under, minus 120, 115, something to that range. Shane Smith, if you take a look at his recent starts, he has not gone 5 innings since playing the Houston Astros on June 10th. We're looking at going backwards. We're looking at 4.1, 3, 4.1, 4.2, 2, 4.1. And he's given up at least 2 earned runs in each of those games. So I liked him earlier in the season. He was pitching pretty well. Right now, I'm not as big of a fan. His numbers, if you take a look at the StatCast numbers, some red, some blue, some bad blue. Chase rate 12th percentile, walk rate 18th, hard hit 14th. He has regressed a little bit. He's got 91 innings right now, 85 strikeouts, so he's less than 1 strikeout per inning. And you always have to take a look at the bullpens when you've got a guy who's probably not going to go 5 innings. And they're pretty set in the bullpen pretty well. A lot of that is just like we talked about. They haven't been winning. They have Grant Taylor is probably their closer. They got a few guys they use, but he hasn't pitched since Friday the 1st. I'm sure he'll get in somehow in this game. Steven Wilson's pitched only twice in the last 5 days. Jordan Leisure has not pitched in the last 4 days. So they'll have their better relievers going in today's game, I believe, even though they may not be winning. So that's something to keep in mind. When you're taking a look at the opposing pitcher, obviously Logan Gilbert, we know what he can do. He's been a terrific pitcher in his career. This is his 5th season. He comes in with a 3.45 ERA, 2.72 expected, 0.89 whip, very good in that regard. The only negative on his chart is his average exit velocity in the 21st percentile, but 100th percentile in extension, 6'6". That ball gets right on you. And when you take a look at the fastball velocity, it's only in the 68th percentile, but that's still better than league average. His four-seamer, 95.4, but he uses that the same amount as his slider. And his slider's at 35%, both of them 35%, splitter 20%. So he's got a really nice 5-pitch mix, but really it's the 3 that he uses the most that are really good. Let's take a look at the Seattle bullpen because they have been winning. And we can see that they have been able to use their better pitchers as of late. In fact, last night, Munoz went 26 pitches. He may not pitch today. 21 for Bizzardo, Spire 13. So overall, the last 3 days, they've only had those 3 guys really that have been pitching. On Tuesday, they did use the bullpen game. Cowher had to pitch 20, and he's pitched really well out of the bullpen. If you remember him from Kansas City, he was a starter. He's been very good in the bullpen for Seattle. And Casey Legabina at 38. So, both bullpens are in good shape here, and which makes me look at the under, but the line is 7.5 here in this game. Still, I don't think I think Seattle may get a little bit better hitting here, but I don't want to lay that number. So at this point, I was like you. I was hoping to get a place to play Chicago, but it looks like I'll be passing on them in the entire series, and I don't want to lay that big number with Seattle.
Yeah, everyone. Bryan mentioned it earlier. I have my pitcher projections up. I project the strikeouts, outs, hits, walks, all that for every starting pitcher. Plus, I rank the bullpens and the lineups. So you can download that for free today because there's just a few games. Took me only a few minutes to put it together. So it's free today. So go to my page at Wager Talk and download that. I have an MLB play out. Bryan certainly will. Adam will if he doesn't already. So go to our pages and see what we've got because we put free plays up almost every day as well. Regarding this game, I would really like to play the Mariners here, but I haven't yet. And I'm not sure why I haven't. I got Gilbert ranked number 4 on a curve of 30 out of all starting pitchers. But if you look at his numbers against these batters, not that great. a 286 average against and a 779 OPS against. That's not really good, but as people have been mentioning in the comments, he is a good home pitcher. But the White Sox, I got them ranked number 8 in hitting, and I got Seattle ranked number 20 in current form. I don't know. I think Seattle's really been smacking the ball the last 2 games, though. So I think I would bump those up just from the eye test. So obviously Seattle has a much better bullpen. So I think Seattle will probably win this game, but my numbers don't give me the projection I want to bet it. So do I bet with my brain and my numbers, or do I bet with my heart? My eye test and my feelings say Seattle should easily win this game, but my numbers say it'll be a tight game. So I'm kind of stuck on this one. I haven't bet it yet.
Yeah, I am worried for the White Sox that this might be one of the young team swoons here that we've talked about, right? Like it's almost unavoidable when you have a roster of all first and second year players, a lot of young guys, which is essentially what the White Sox roster is now. We've seen it with the Marlins at times. We are seeing one right now with the Nationals. The A's were the best example of this earlier when they lost like 21 of 22 games, and they tend to come after a period of playing well. So it's like this White Sox group got a taste of having a little bit of success out of the All-Star break. They're playing well. Guys are having a good time. Things are going really good. Suddenly they've lost 3 straight, starting to make mistakes. They're not getting the timely hits anymore. So there's a couple guys slumping. So I wouldn't be that surprised if the White Sox, if this losing streak lasted a little longer than 3 games, especially with what they have coming up. Now they're going to be home. They have a homestand coming up, but it's going to be Guardians, Tigers, Royals, 3 teams that really, really need wins over the next 10 days. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if the White Sox fell into one of these sort of stretches where they lose 8 of 9, because all the other young teams have done it this year. And now this group is finally starting to face some adversity. You want to talk about running out of gas? I think that's what we've seen with Shane Smith. I mean, the guy was an all-star. He had an all-star caliber first half, especially if you throw out June into July, and he was clearly just out of gas. I don't know what the exact reason was, but he definitely went on the IL, or he got like a 10-day stint, probably just to give him some time off after his appearance in the All-Star game. I don't think he pitched. He pitched the 1 inning in the All-Star game, and then he didn't pitch until August 1st, which was his most recent outing against the Angels, where he did look a little bit better. So he got, into the 5th inning. He didn't get totally blown up. Still 4 walks, a little bit concerning, but he was good enough in that start, in my opinion. So he could be fine. I wouldn't be that surprised if he came out and threw the ball respectable. But man, you're still up against the Mariners, who have, as Tokyo Brandon did a great job of pointing out, their top arm elite. Like Logan Gilbert, got to remember too, he had a stretch of time where he was hurt this year. And if he wasn't, Logan Gilbert very much might be in the mix with the Scoobles and the Crochets for Cy Young talk if he didn't hurt himself and miss 5-6 weeks and then have to work his way back from injury. So you could even look at this hey, we're getting Gilbert at a little bit of a bargain. It's crazy as that is to say where the price in this game is. Arguably, he maybe should be a bigger favorite. So the fact that you can get Mariners -1.5, close to a pick, close to -1, -105, -110, might actually be the value in this one, because I don't know that the books have fully adjusted to Gilbert being the Cy Young ace caliber pitcher that he actually is. So I know you didn't expect to hear that from me today, because I've been very pro White Sox, but I think this could be another blowout. And if Gilbert's on and he's cruising, you're probably looking at the White Sox playing from behind. And I just don't think this is a White Sox team that's going to come from behind right now. So I actually lean toward the Mariners here. All right. We have, let's go right on to the next game. I do see your guys' questions, some really good questions, and we will get more betting theory questions over the next half hour. We'll also lock in the final two legs of the parlay. Tokyo Brandon started us off with the A's team total. Bryan and I will add one here over the course of the next 30 minutes. So stay with us and let's work our way through this 4-game slate. Next game, actually, suppose if you're going to throw one in sort of prime time tonight, Bryan, on this thrilling 4-game slate, at least you're getting Skeens against the Reds. Like, that's a pretty interesting game right there for no other reason than Paul Skeens is a generational talent. And it's great to see him pitch anytime he gets to step on the mound. The Reds fell short yesterday, but I felt like everything went against him in that game, including every call. So it was almost like they were doomed, regardless of what happened. But now they turn around. It's Brady Singer, who finally looked good last time out. It's Paul Skeens, who's arguably the best pitcher in the National League. How are you seeing Reds Pirates here?
Yeah, I had the Reds is my play in the parlay, which killed the parlay yesterday, by the way. I didn't have a chance to watch the game. I had some other things going on yesterday, but I did hear, and I did see some things on the internet where I guess the umpire really called a bad game. It was really hurting Cincinnati. Not an excuse, but maybe they'll get a little bit better calls today if that's the situation. But you got Brady Singer going against Paul Skeens here. Skeens about a 165 favorite, total of 7, slightly to the over. Here's a quick question or a quick statement that I don't think anybody would know about. I was just talking about the roster resource page where they rate the pitchers from the last 14 days. The number 1 starter in Major League Baseball over the last 14 days, Brady Singer. Brady Singer's had 2 really good starts in a row. He has struggled. He's been very inconsistent this year. He's either been good or he's been bad. There's been really no in between. But he's on a nice run right now. And actually, their 8th inning guy, Tony Santillan, is the number 1 rated reliever. Obviously, when you take a look at the bullpens, none of the best pitchers for the Reds pitched yesterday. And on Tuesday, they only threw a combined 11 innings. So I think we'll going to see the Reds bullpen in better shape here. But they will probably have to have the lead in order to do that. And they're going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball, Paul Skeens. But getting back to Brady Singer on the season, 4.36 ERA, and his whip is 1.31. But his last 2 starts, he shut out the Braves on a 4-hitter in 6 innings last time out. And before that, he gave up 1 earned run in 7 1/3 against the Tampa Bay Rays, and he only gave up 3 hits in that one. Now, before that, Washington bombed him, but he played the Rockies, he played Miami, and he played Boston. And the Boston game was short. He only had 3 innings there, but the other 2 games he was decent. So maybe he's on one of those upswings. And when you can get a pitcher on what I consider the better team at this price range, it may be something to look at. When you're looking at Paul Skeens here, one of the best pitchers in baseball, obviously. Still a 6-8 record on the season, 2.02 ERA. That's crazy. 2.53 expected ERA, 0.92 WHIP. He is all red all over the Statcast page, so there's no need to talk about that. The guy's just a terrific pitcher. He now throws 7 pitches, anywhere from 4% on the cutter all the way up to his 50 or 40% on his fastball, 98.2% on his average fastball, 94.9 is league average. He's just a terrific pitcher. Looking at these things here, I think we may have some value on playing the under, and it's sitting there at 7. I know that the Pirates hitters have done pretty well lately, but it's all been the fringe guys. If you go back to the roster resource page, it's been the fringe guys that have done it for the Pirates. And let's take a look. We've got top 100 over the last 7 days. Spencer Horowitz, number 9. Nick Gonzalez, number 72. Andrew McCutcheon, 73. Connor Falefa, 52. So it's not even, O'Neill Cruz going crazy on him or Brian Reynolds. It's these guys that have in the past struggled a little bit. So I kind of like the under here. I'm going to use that as my parlay on today's card. And to be totally honest with you, I'm probably going to pass on today's card. I just don't, with 4 games, I'm not seeing anything enough to give to my clients. But you can get the under 7 right now at minus 105 or so, and that's the way I'll play it. And hopefully Pittsburgh will do what they normally do when Paul Skeens is on the mound and not score. So that'll be my take on this game.
Yeah, guys, it's so difficult to win at sports betting. So what we have to do is rely on things that we know. And what do I know? I know Paul Skeens is a pretty good pitcher. So I'm going to put a bet somehow backing him being a good pitcher because I know he is a good pitcher. How good is he? Well, at home, he's pitched 62 innings. He has 62 strikeouts and 13 walks. He's got a 1.87 ERA, but he's only won 3 games. He's 3-4. So those are amazing numbers, though. And if you look at how he's performed against these Reds batters, even more amazing. A 179 average against and a 476 OPS. That's almost 300 points below my Mendoza line for OPS, which is 750. That is pretty incredible stuff. I'm projecting him to allow 3 hits in this game. And if you look at his last home starts, he has not allowed 5 hits. He's only allowed 5 hits once in 5 starts. So I took a look at DraftKings that his hits is 4.5 for this game. I think under 4.5 hits for Skeens would be a decent bet. It's juiced pretty badly though. It's like minus 160 or something. But I mean, do you think they're going to get 5 hits on him? I don't. So yeah, I'm going to bet what I know. And I know Skeens is good. I have him ranked number 2 out of 220 starting pitchers. So yeah, he's right behind Tariq Skubal. He's pretty good. And he doesn't walk anyone either. So Reds are going to find it hard to score here. I wouldn't argue with Bryan's under either though, because Singer has been pretty good. He has good stats against these batters as well. So I think the Pirates are going to have a hard time scoring, at least at the beginning of the game as well. So a first 5 under or either team's team total under might be a good bet here.
Yeah, I have no problem with like backing Skeens to achieve in some way, shape, or form. But betting the Pirates here would just be insanity. Like betting on the Pirates to win the game at this price. And it has nothing to do with Skeens. And that's why I wanted to make the point. Like I have no issues. If you like Skeens and you're like, okay, I want to take his Ks, I would not take him to win the game because it's correlated to the Pirates winning the game. I have no problem with the Skeens achievement angle. But that's the only possible way that you could justify playing the Pirates here. The reason is they are, for whatever reason, they're not, I don't want to say they're not trying to win. It's not the right term because any Major League Baseball player stepping onto a big league field is trying to win. But for some reason, the Pirates have a more optimal roster at Indianapolis right now than they do in Pittsburgh. Someone's going to have to do they get money for winning AAA? Like, I wonder, because I know the Pirates owner loves his, keeping dollars in his pocket. Someone needs to let me know if they get a bonus for winning AAA. Because that Indianapolis Indians seems very good right now. And the fact that they traded for Cam Devaney and he hasn't been called up yet is crazy to me when they moved Adam Frazier for him. Why you wouldn't have then put him in the big leagues because he's had a great season at AAA makes no sense. Now they get Ronnie Simone from the Marlins organization, who was up with the Marlins. He's playing great at AAA. Why has he not been thrown into the mix yet? But the reason that's important is the guys that they are trotting out there in big league games, Olivier Peguero, trash, he's leading off. Alex Canario's batting 205. Triolo's batting under 200. These are guys starting every day, essentially, for the Pirates right now. So to me, it's I can't justify, and I know they had some wins for a stretch. I don't know how they had an 8-3 stretch. Probably playing the Rockies helped a little bit. But how can you lay $1.70 with that team? I don't care who's on the mound. So it could only be the Reds. Colin Gregory says lean Reds plus a 1.5. If it was a better price, if I didn't have to lay as much juice, I'd certainly agree with you on that. obviously, like there's a little bit of plus money value, but again, you're still going to have to beat Skeens. So I have no bet here. But I guess the reason I'm sort of like on my going off on my tangent is A, we have the time, and B, I don't want you laying $1.70 with the Pirates here. I think it's a really bad idea. So no bet for me, but don't bet the Pirates at this price. It's just not a good bet. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, I was going to mention, I looked at the Reds at plus the 1.5, and I thought about that, but it was minus 150. And I think the under the 7 overall is probably, I don't want to lay, I'm not a big guy laying allowed juice. If you notice in our parlays, usually play underdogs. I will say that that's the situation where you've got a starting pitcher that's won 6 games all year. And I don't remember offhand, has there ever been a Cy Young winner that had a losing record?
Hernandez, Felix, Mariners, maybe DeGrom, Mets.
I don't remember.
Those are the only 2 that come to mind. DeGrom with the Mets, Felix with the Mariners. I don't think they had great win-loss records, and I think they both won a Cy Young at some point. But other than that, remember they gave it to the guy on the Red Sox one year because he won 20 games. He was like not a great pitcher. Can't remember who
that's when they thought wins and losses meant something.
Yeah, he was like 21-4, and it's like not even a pitcher I can queue up off the top of my head right now. It was the guy who's also on the Tigers. I just can't remember his name to save my life. But yeah,
Mickey Lolich or something like that.
To just mention one point to back up the how in the world can you bet the Pirates at minus 180 today theory. Skeens has a 1.8 ERA in 62 innings, and he's got a losing win-loss record. So that should be enough for you to not bet the Pirates today. Yep. Bet on Skeens somehow excelling, or bet either one of the teams not to score a lot of runs.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's the better team, and you're getting them in this price range. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I believe the books put too much weight on starting pitching.
For sure.
Because this line is strictly because Skeens is starting. I mean, if that was Falter, there's no way. Well, Falter plays for someone else now, but there's no way that line would be what it is, right? So, strictly starting pitching. And Skeens, he's not. I don't think he goes like 7-8 innings, right? He's like a 5-6, maybe 7 inning guy, right?
Yeah, he doesn't go 7 normally. No, they don't want to wear him out. It's right. Give him 5 and fly.
Robert S. Yeah, this is one of my biggest sort of gripes with with Major League Baseball. In addition to that ghost runner rule, is teams manipulating guys' service time and like being essentially being allowed to do it. It's the only sport where like there's upside to not having the best possible roster at the big league at like your major league level. It's the only sport where it's like that there's actual upside to not doing it. And teams do take advantage of that in different ways. And I dislike that. There's gotta be, I think they should work to like make that less of a thing. If a guy deserves to be in the majors, he should be in the majors, plain and simple. Like just, you can't convince me otherwise. There are scenarios where it's like, yeah, if you want a guy to play every day and there's not space for him at the big league level, I get all that, but like, but like the major should be the best 26 players in your organization, obviously position related. And too many teams are not doing that because they're trying to save $1 down the road. And I wish there was a way to get that out of the sport. It bothers me, but that's a good
baseball
point.
Contracts are so funny because you see guys not being on the major league roster until a month into the season because they don't want to pay them for the full season, or contracts are really complicated in baseball, so it's kind of funny.
Louis Vuitton Don, before we go on to the last game, he brings, so this is something he DM'd to me, and he says, I've done this for 4 years straight. Every year 69 to 73% of baseball games are decided by 2+ runs. That's true. About 20, it's always been, it's like 27, 28, 29% on a given year is about 1 run. That's the number of games decided by 1 run. So what he's saying is, and reason I'm bringing it up now is because we just talked about Reds plus 1.5, but not the value at the current price. He says, I got tired of people saying don't lay -1.5 with home teams And taking plus 1.5 is a good play when it's not, or creating -1 lines. And so he sent me a chart, and he basically said, okay, these are teams that have lost by 2+ runs at 75% or more. And it's interesting who's on this chart. Tigers, believe it or not, the Tigers, 39 of their 46 losses, 84.8% of their losses are by 2 or more runs. The Cubs, 82% of their losses by 2 or more runs. I guess like what he's getting, I think what he's getting at is why not lay the -1.5 more? Don't pay the juice. I'm with you on not paying the juice for plus 1.5. I do think that there's like a very strict cutoff. If you're going to go out and lay $1.40 to get plus 1.5 on a daily basis, you will lose money. But as far as his, like, I don't really know what his question is, but I just figured I would throw it out for discussion. I honestly think the books do a pretty good job of pricing the run lines for the most part. I personally like plus 1.5, but it's when I can find a really good value spot with a team that doesn't win many games. So like a White Sox or like a Nationals, because I think these teams are going to find ways to lose more often than not. And so it gives me a little safety blanket there, and I'm willing to do it at a certain price. Do either of you, before we go into the last game, want to comment on just run line betting and anything for Louis Vuitton Don, who's apparently betting the run lines on a daily basis?
I don't play minus run lines very often, almost never. I always like to take the 1.5 because the team's goal is to win the game. And if you win the game by 1, they leave the field. They're all excited. They accomplish their goal. And in the late innings, when you're up by more than 1 run, they let that guy steal second base. Sometimes they let him steal third, and that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, my way of thinking about this is, well, first of all, with the plus 1.5, I would only bet plus 1.5 if I think that underdog is going to win on the money line. And I would take the plus 1.5 just as security, because I would never bet them to lose by 1, because the chances are, like you said, less than 20%, probably less than 10%, right? So if you like an underdog and you want to take them, take a 1.5. And then, pay a little bit of juice, but you get a security blanket there. Regarding the -1.5, or like what you just mentioned, those statistics you just mentioned, I think those are very manager specific statistics, because some managers, if you watch the games, once they go down by 4 or 5 runs, they pretty much throw in the towel. And I think that's an indication of. I don't know if Cubs manager is throwing in the towel or anything, but that team is way too talented to be losing that many games by 2 or more runs. So I think it's a managerial, tactical, perhaps. But I generally don't bet -1.5, because I hate nothing more than to pick the right side and to lose my bet when they win by 1. I just hate it. So I generally don't bet them.
TB, you make a good point. And, I want to point out that the top 2 teams on that list are the Tigers and the Cubs, 2 very good teams. And I
very good team.
What you're saying has some merit, because the Tigers and the Cubs go out and expect to win essentially every day. So why would a guy like AJ Hinch or Craig Counsell risk deploying resources down a couple runs when they know that they're probably going to win their next 3-4 games? Like, why would they risk messing up a week? You're just not going to see that from a good team. Now, from bad teams that don't have established roles in the bullpen and they're really just flying by the seat of their pants, it's a little bit different. Right. And they may look at like being down 2 as like, okay, this is like, a good chance for like the White Sox. If they're down 2 against the Mariners, like this might be the best shot we have to stay in a game this whole series. Tomorrow we've got Logan Gilbert, right? Like, so I do think that there is some merit to that point. Whereas the Cubs are going to be like, all right, we're down 5. Who needs innings? Let's get the guy with the 6 ERA and get him a couple reps. And because we're probably going to be in position to win our next 3 or 4 games. It's a really good point. That's a great point. And there's some data to back that up in that chart. All right. Last game on the board for Thursday. Marlins, Braves. We've got Yuri Perez, who's a guy that we've talked about quite a bit on the show, and our guy Cookie, Carlos Carrasco, who looked really good on his call up to the Braves after pitching very good in the minors for a month. So, Brian Leonard, this is your guy, Carlos Carrasco, longtime Guardian. I know you want to see him do well with the Braves. Does he pitch well tonight?
Yeah, he surprised me. You had mentioned in his minor league starts that he was pitching very well, and he brought that to the majors. So I hope that continues for him personally. I go off our terrific line service, the Odds Logic website, and they're making some changes to the site. They're going to make it even better. And I sent Johnny over all my information today. So now, unfortunately, he's cut off he's updating my system right in the middle of the show. So I can't give you what the current lines are on this game. So somebody else is going to have to do it. But we've got Yuri Perez, as you mentioned, and now has a winning record, 4-3 on the season, 2.70 ERA, 2.76 expected. That's coming off of the obviously the major surgery, missed all last season. He's been really good. I mean, his whip is 0.94. He's now averaging more strikeouts than innings pitched. This is a guy right now you wanna back if you get a chance. You take a look at his recent starts. He just played the Yankees. He's held the Yankees to two hits in 6 innings, no earned runs. Before that, he played the Red Hot Brewers, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 2 hits. Before that, played the Padres, a really good offensive team, 5 innings, 2 hits, or 2 earned runs, 2 hits. And then he played the Orioles, 7-0. The Cincinnati Reds, 5-1. Minnesota Twins, 6-0. Yeah, he's pitching well. I love him in this game. It's not often you're gonna have them as the road favorite here against Atlanta team, but the Brewers yesterday were my best bet. They were my 4% play. They fell down 1-0 in the first inning and then came back. And Strider just doesn't have it right now. Strider's probably the most overrated pitcher in Major League Baseball right now. Not the same pitcher as he was when he was healthy. This Atlanta offense, not very good. If you take a look at, as I mentioned earlier, with the teams lately on what they have done, let's check that out over at the roster resource page. We've got last 7 days for the Atlanta Braves. They have 2 players that are better than 100. Ozzie Albies, 88. He had 1 big game. And then Eli White, who hits for no power, is ranked 26th. So they're major guys, the Olsons, the Profars, the Murphys. Harris is hitting well. He's a top 20. He's finally coming around. This is not a team I'm looking to back to score a lot of runs right now, and they're doing so against a guy who's just pitching phenomenal. Will it continue? Not forever, but right now he has just been terrific. And so I like Miami in this game. And they did get that back on the winning track yesterday. I think that continues today with Miami.
Yeah, I'd really like to take Miami in this one, but I haven't yet. A lot of things point their direction. The fact that Atlanta's season is over and the guys are just playing for contracts, and the fact that Miami's a really good road team. There's one red flag, though, and that's Yuri Perez's stats against these batters in his career. They've lit him up. He's got a 350 average against and a 1,059 OPS against. Sample size is kind of small, but there are batters in this lineup that have absolutely tagged him in his career. So that kind of scares me a little bit. One other thing that kind of scares me is the fact that straight up Atlanta's a more talented team. So, they're in the dumps right now and their season is basically worthless and over. But they're just more talented. So I just can't emotionally make myself bet them. But Miami has the much better bullpen right now. Current form, Miami ranked 9, Atlanta ranked 25. Lineup, current form, Miami ranked 17, Atlanta ranked 23. So Miami has huge advantage. And I've got Yuri Perez ranked 5 on a curve of 30 out of all starting pitchers. So everything points to Miami except his history against these batters and the fact that remove myself from the data, but emotionally, I just can't bet the inferior team. I just can't make myself do it. Just those 2 things.
Every day I'm watching the Marlins, I feel like on a day-to-day basis at this point. And it's like, every day I don't think I can like this team anymore. And then something happens and I'm just like, it makes me like them even more. And yesterday I'm watching Marlins Astros, didn't have a cent on the game, although our over that we talked about on the show was over in like the third inning, or very early in the game. A lot of runs off the starters yesterday, but it's late in the game. And I think it was Fauche, however you say his name, was the relief pitcher on the mound in this scenario. Bases loaded, game on the line, jumps off the mound and just makes a tremendous play and play and throw home. And like the whole play was awesome. They basically saved the game for the Marlins. And then you get the Marlins broadcasters talking about how hard they worked the pitchers in PFPs and how they're preaching like to the pitchers, like being aggressive in terms of like making plays on the mound, which is very different from like the league strayed from that. Back when guys like, I mean, Greg Maddux used to be a great defensive pitcher, always would attack the ball, make a lot of plays. Now it's like stand there like a statue and let your fielders make the play. And a lot of times I've literally watched pitchers this year let a pop-up drop instead of just going and catching the ball, because like the mentality for a lot of pitchers is, let the fielders make the plays. And he attacked that ball, threw a dart to the catcher. It was just a great play. And it's just another, like, Marlins are just out, they just are operating on another level in terms of developing talent right now. You love to see it. As far as Yuri Perez is concerned, Tokyo Brandon, you pointed his numbers out against the Braves. I think they're deceiving, because his only start this year against the Braves was early on when he was coming back, when he was still clearly rehabbing, still had no real command of the zone. And then if you go back to his starts against the Braves prior to that, it's an eternity ago. I mean, this dude was hurt for 2 years. So it's like he's not even the same. He was a kid then. It's like he's aged like 3 years since then. So I would back him playing. I mean, I would be more. I think he's more likely to pitch the way he's pitched pretty much since the 1st of June, which is 5-6 innings, completely locking down a lineup, than, he's going to struggle against the Braves because they have some decent numbers against him. Because I just don't think this Braves team, who is in their worst form maybe ever, right? Like ever, when I say ever, I mean the guys like the Acunas, like this crew of Atlanta Braves guys has not played collectively this poorly ever since they've all been there. Like, I don't think they're going to do much against Perez. And then Carrasco, yeah, he's pitched well, but he can get bombed on a moment's notice. So Marlins will be my parlay leg. Minus, what do we got? Brian, you said your odds.
It's up again. I've got it's minus 120.
Perfect. Yeah, I get, so there's some people in the chat, and I agree with the people in the chat where it's like, listen, you're going to have to pump the brakes on playing the Marlins day to day as a favorite. I totally agree with that sort of thought process. I do think the books have started to come around on this Marlins team, and now suddenly you're going to have to lay a little juice to back them. Long gone are the days where we can just get the Marlins in this same spot, plus 115, plus 110, plus 105. But I still think today's matchup on a 4-game card is a reasonably good bet. So I'll take Marlins. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, there's a talk about the bullpen yesterday, and it's true. There are 4 guys in the bullpen. They're back 4 guys through about, I believe, 88 pitches yesterday, which is a lot to be concerned about. But none of them had pitched the previous 2 days. But it's still, they're not quite as fresh as what we would like. They had 3 guys with the hold and 1 guy with the save yesterday. But I still like Miami. I think that's a good bet. And this Atlanta team, I said it before the All-Star break, when they went into the All-Star break, this is a fade for me. And I think it continues here. That it's a big pitching mismatch. As much as I like the starter as a personal level, yeah, I can't expect him to pitch as well as what's going on in Miami right now.
Can I make one more point quick about the bullpen for Miami? I'm less concerned with usage for Miami because they're all the same guy. Like, their top reliever and their 7th reliever are very like, this isn't a bullpen where it's like, we've got these like 2 studs and then it falls off considerably at the end. It's a collection of guys that are all like pretty good, and that are, not only are they pretty good, they all seem to be improving. And it's why they've had a top 5 bullpen for now. Like, pretty much if you look at the last 2 months, last 45 days, Marlins are like way up there in bullpen rating, probably a top 5 bullpen. So they just have done a tremendous job, and it's like they've got this collection of guys that can all go out, throw an inning or two, do it good, and then hand the ball to the next guy to do the same thing. And they're still in that like playing with nothing to lose vein, right? Like so it's like they don't get over, they're not worried about the 8th or 9th inning. Now, 3 weeks down the road, if they start to sniff a wild card spot, that might change. Suddenly those 8th, 9th innings might get bigger. But for now, I just think they're just sort of riding the wave. It's been fun to watch. Bryan, what is the juice?
Playoffs, couldn't they? Could they conceivably make
there's time.
500 ball club.
There's time for sure. It's going to be tough catching those good National League teams, but we still have 2 months of ball left. There's plenty of time for the Marlins to get them get themselves in a position to do so. Slick Vic says not going to the playoffs. Yeah, probably not, but that's less on them and more on the fact that the National League just has very, very good baseball teams this year. If the Marlins were in the American League, they'd be waltzing to the playoffs. Wouldn't even be a problem. What do we have for juice on that team total over, TB? I didn't write it down.
It was minus 119, over 4.5. My under for Pittsburgh is minus 105. Miami money line minus 120.
All right, so we need to hit one of these. Last time we got sort of into this range, we cashed a nice 3-teamer for like 6-1. So maybe that's today. This parlay is plus 556 for the 3-teamer. So I'll read it off one more time. Tokyo Brandon's going A's team total over 4.5. If TB, I'm gonna let you answer this question because it's your play. If someone can't get the over 4.5 for the team total for the A's, would you rather them put the full game over in or A's money line?
A's money line.
Okay, because I know there are people that play on locals and they have a hard time parlaying team totals. So you heard it right here. TV says if you can't get the team total in your parlay, go with A's money line. But if you have the option, definitely use the team total. Our parlay will be graded off of A's team total over 4.5. That's Tokyo Brandon. Brian's going to go with Reds, Pirates under 7. And then I'm going to use Marlins money line. So one more time, Tokyo Brandon, A's team total over 4.5. Bryan Leonard under 7 in the Reds Pirates game. And I'll go Marlins money line plus 556. That is our 3-teamer today. Head on over to the Wager Talk site. We'll all have something up. Mine might be in KBO. I don't know if I'll get to the window with one of these MLB games. But you got all our opinions because we went through all 4 games. I'll be reposting this. And you can always go to the Wager Talk YouTube channel to watch the replay. If you're coming in late, some good betting advice that wasn't specific to the games. We ended up going over the hour today with 4 games, but that's because the betting conversation was so good. We appreciate all of you guys. 900 people in here watching live on a 4-game Thursday MLB slate. We very much appreciate that. If you have a minute, head on over to the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Give us a like and subscribe to the page. It greatly helps us out. And have a great day. Maybe enjoy some NFL preseason tonight. A couple games to get the juices flowing for football. But yeah, we'll be back 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to close out the week. Have a great day, everyone.